What pulled me in is having actual ties to, the Celtic culture and finding my tartan and knowing that I can represent different tartans, and I wear the U.S. Marine tartan now for my dad who served, and it's just a really exciting community to be a part of. And once you do one competition, you're hooked, because it's not just that you get to throw, you become part of the family.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into ScotWeek 2021, our day 2. And I'm very excited to bring to you 2 really important people and friends of ours. We have Liza Beres for the Southern California Curling Center. And we have Jarvina Routt, who is an advisory board member to ScotWeek. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Jarvina, I am a great fan of yours. You're one of my all-time heroes. And I want to start with you a little bit, just to talk about what you do and share with our audience, because now we have live on here people from, I think, about 5 different continents at this point, people from Scotland, as well as all around the world. And I wanted to introduce you and let people know what you do, because you have the most fantastic story in the heavy athletics world.
Oh, thank you. And hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Jarvina Routt. Yes, I throw stones and I flip trees, as you know, the caber. I've been competing in Highland Games for about, I guess last year. I can't say it really counts. I didn't get a full season in, but I started throwing in 2015. And I've traveled everywhere in the States, and I've had the privilege of competing in Scotland. I've competed as a lightweight, which is a women's class of 150 pounds and under. I broke several world records within that class. I won the national title in 2018. And since then, I've progressed forward to compete with elite professional women.
And so we'll come back in a moment and talk a little bit about your experience in Scotland when you went over there, and how you actually got started doing this type of sport, because it's a truly fascinating story. And just to let people know, these previous podcast interviews we did with both of these ladies can be found on our YouTube channel. So please go right ahead and let me know, or visit those areas and look at those interviews that get more in depth with both of these ladies. And then Liza, you're with Southern California Curling. And we first connected with you at the start of ScotWeek. You were going to come to our red carpet that we had to cancel early in 2020. And
right.
And you were going to have a little setup where people could actually try curling. Tell us a little bit about Southern California Curling.
So we were birthed out of Hollywood Curling, which is a local nonprofit sports club here in Los Angeles that formed in 2008. And a number of us helped to run that club for many, many years, helping teach people in Los Angeles the sport of curling and to kind of pass on our passion for the sport. And then a few years ago, a few of us broke off to form the Southern California Curling Center, which is in the process of being built right now. We are anticipating an opening this summer, and it'll be the first curling facility. It'll be the largest curling facility west of the Dakotas. And it's going to be the first facility of its kind in Southern California that is dedicated to the sport of curling. And for those that don't know, we're talking about the sport with the rocks and the brooms and the sweeping and the yelling and the big gold medal that we got in 2018. And it has become a real passion of mine and some of my fellow business partners. And we decided that LA was deserving of its very own facility dedicated to the sport.
Well, and everyone needs to try it out. And I know that you've been working on a new rink in Los Angeles area, which is phenomenal. But I don't know if everyone knows, hopefully everyone knows that curling is actually an Olympic sport now. And I don't know if everyone knows that curling actually originated in Scotland as a Scottish sport. So that's quite
It absolutely did. And leave it to the Scots to make sure that you have a sport involving rocks and ice and frozen locks, but then to make sure that legacy, the rules, 400 years after the sport was invented, the rules still require that the winning team buy a round for the losing team. So there's a real social element still embedded into the sport, which I find very, very fitting coming from the Scots.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that that was the case. So we'll have to definitely come out and join in that and try to win so we can get a round bought for us.
Exactly.
And I want to talk a little bit about the different types of people that can actually do curling, because I know we talked about this before, and this actually segues into my next question. And there's a question from someone on the platform for Jarvina. And so I just want to bring up that for curling, every age of person from every walk of life, correct? Whether you're male or female or identify, whatever it may be, is welcome to come and can actually do this sport and be out on the ice and try this out. And so that is something that everyone should look forward to do and to try once our community opens up completely. But with that, Jarvina, I wanted to ask you this question that we had posed to us. What are some strategies we can do in our own locales for encouraging and supporting more young women to become involved in the Scottish athletics?
That is actually one of my favorite things to talk about and favorite things to encourage for people to get involved within the sport of Highland Games. What works for me is saying hello. So the first thing that I do when I'm on the field is I kind of like see who's in the audience and who's really engaged. And I'll just go and I'll, a short chat. And a lot of people don't even realize that they can do it too. A lot of the women are like, oh, you're so awesome. Like, I can't believe you do this. And they just think that it's so far out of grasp for them. And I'm like, you can do it too. And they go, what? And I say, yeah, like if you can pick something up and you can throw it over, we throw out of a trig. So if you're familiar with track and field, you see the shot putter, the discus, and they throw within the ring. We throw within a rectangle, but it's somewhat of the same rules where you can't step over the toe board. You have to stay within the box. So I tell them, if you can take the object and throw it over that trig and not fall over the toe board, then guess what? You're a thrower. And it's all about progressing from there. So it's all about encouraging and just taking it baby steps. Connecting with someone within your area, a practice group, just getting a feel, even if you don't have any type of throwing background. I say everyone has the potential to throw, whatever level you're coming in at.
And I want to ask you, having just talked about that a little bit, and thank you for being so inspirational, because I know that people come and watch you all the time. What can you share with the world? And I've asked you this before, so I apologize for asking it again, how you got started doing these athletics. Can you tell that story if you'd like, because it's such a great story?
Sure. Yeah, actually, it's totally fine because I love to tell it. I was actually a thrower in track and field in college, but this is years ago. So I had really no, sight of throwing again because it's been so long. But my husband's best friend, he went to Scottish festivals on a regular, and one day it like clicked to him where he was watching the athletes, and he called up my husband and he said, I think your wife will be good at this. And so when my husband told me, I was like, it's been years since I've done anything like that. So I was hesitant at first, and my husband made it a point to like take off of work to drive me to their practices and encourage me to get into it. And so I started doing research and looking up different athletes. And that's how I like started fangirling over Adrienne Wilson, who's a 5-time women's world champion, and watching her videos and how she throws. And after the first competition, which was at Seaside in Ventura, you know, I was just there to throw. I didn't understand how big the festivals were. I didn't understand that because, you know, on the track and field side, when you're throwing, it's usually like your family or your teammates that are watching. But, you know, at the festivals, there are people there and excited to watch the athletes like we are, you know, the entertainment, but they're also like in awe of what we're doing. And so it was around lunchtime where I just went to go find something to eat, tried to grab, you know, some fingers and mash, and people were stopping me and they were saying, you know, how awesome I was doing out there. And I was like, this is amazing and I want to come back. And what pulled me in is having actual ties to, you know, the Celtic culture and finding my tartan and knowing that I can represent different tartans, and I wear the US Marine tartan now for my dad who served. And it's just a really exciting community to be a part of. And once you do one competition, you're hooked, because it's not just that you get to throw, you become part of the family.
Oh, I love that story. I never get tired of hearing it. And before we come back and talk more about your training, which you have kept up in spades, I watch you on your social media. I just want to ask Liza a little bit more about, I know that the Curling Center is currently on hiatus due to the pandemic, but what kind of developments have you guys been doing over the past year in order to get ready for when we open up again?
That's a great question. I just want to say, first of all, that I kind of want to be Jarvina's best friend, and I want to teach her how to curl, and I want her to teach me how to throw K-Beres, because that sounds really cool.
I am so up for that. I've always wanted to try curling. Like, no.
Done. We'll definitely do a little exchange
here.
My
gosh,
but Cindy, your question is a really great one. So prior to the pandemic, and prior to this day, in fact, there has never been dedicated ice in Southern California. So what that means is that in order to curl, you'd have to go to one of the local clubs, and there's a few within Southern California, and they would quickly transform hockey ice into a surface that is very subpar, but we make the best of it. And we would curl for 2 hours, and then a Zamboni would come along and clean up the ice after us like we'd never been there. And we have spent basically the last 13 years developing and growing the sport in Southern California under those conditions. Well, right before the pandemic hit, we had signed a lease on a new facility, on a warehouse just south of Los Angeles in the city of Vernon. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and shut everything down. So in the past year, we've been navigating, you know, trying to get the facility built and get it ready to go before we were able to open. So curling, luckily, is in California's orange tier. So as of right now, as soon as the ice surface is complete, we will be able to open our doors. So that's why I say we're looking forward to an opening this summer. If all goes well, maybe June, to be able to open our doors and invite people in. And when I say a dedicated curling facility, it means we don't have to share with hockey or figure skating or anything like that. So 24/7, 365 days a year, that facility will be dedicated to the sport of curling. And so when that happens, the ability to invite the community, the ability to introduce more and more people to this sport. What we were finding before we had our own facility was that we'd outgrown only having one time slot a week that we could get away from the ice rinks, from the hockey players and the figure skaters. We had outgrown these sort of subpar ice conditions. You can only improve your game so much. You can only get so competitive when the conditions are less than ideal. So now we'll have our own place to really make sure that curling has a home, to be a beacon within Southern California.
Well, and ScotWeek hopes to be a big part of that and a big sponsor of your programs. And it's phenomenal that you're going to do that here in the greater Los Angeles area. And I think it's going to be huge I know there's a lot of interest out there amongst the communities and the different organizations to try it. I remember trying to schedule a time for memberships from different groups to be able to come and try it out, because it was big on the list of for people of wanting to try to do it, because it is something that's so versatile for every age group, every type of person, no matter what, everyone can try it. And we were having trouble getting a time that was convenient for people. So this is going to be phenomenal. And I know it's going to be a huge, huge success. But Jarvina, I want to talk with you a little bit, and I'm going to do a shout out to one of our sponsors, McLeod's Ale Brewery. And I want to show you, they made us these beautiful glasses, which each of you ladies will get a set of. And it's backwards on your screen, but you have the McLeod's logo in metallic. And then on the other side, they have the ScotWeek logo, which is really fun. And they are located here in Van Nuys. Jennifer Fabre Bose and Alistair Bose. And they have the most amazing ales. And here's the Van Nuys. And here's another one, cut and dry. I think that's what I'm sipping on a little bit here. But I bring that up now also too, because I was there picking up all of these things just the other day, and I ran into some of the male heavy athletes at McLeod's Ale Brewery. And I talked to them a little bit, and I told them I knew you, Jarvina, and they, the ones from Seaside. And I can't tell you how much they're kind of like, yeah, we're out of shape. Yeah, we haven't really been working out. Sorry, guys, if you're watching. But they haven't really been doing much of anything. And I know, I interviewed you not that long ago as well. And you were, you have been at it. I mean, I'm just going to show you a little bit, and everyone should follow you. There's a little picture of her. I love watching these. They're very inspirational. But tell us a little bit about how you kept up your training, and you are going to give everybody a run for their money when this whole pandemic is over and you're able to get back out on the field.
Definitely. That was one thing that I knew. I was like, okay, remember when the pandemic was like 2 weeks and we'll be fine again, right? So, and as time like kept adding on and there was really no end in sight, I didn't want to be surprised, or it's like, okay, things are going to open up. Okay, like, backyarders are going to open where I can feel comfortable and go throw. I just wanted to, instead of having to get ready, I just want to stay ready. And I'm very blessed that I'm able to train out of my garage. I know a lot of people, they don't have that option or have, what they need as far as equipment, but I've been able to keep going with the gear that I have, and just keeping up with staying strong.
It's very inspirational, and I want people to be able to go and watch you and follow you. And so where can you tell people to go so that they can follow your path and what it is that you're doing?
I am most active on Instagram. So my handle is JRout Thrower, JAYROUTT Thrower. I post all of my training, if it's lifting, throwing. I'm going to start again soon doing breakdowns of throws, like how to for people who've never thrown before, or people who just want to tighten up their technique. I do a lot of technical footwork and just connecting everything. I've met a lot of people like on the field, and I'm not the type to just be like, oh, you should do this. I ask like, hey, would you like to know, little tips? And a lot of times people, they're open for that, where it will just be like something that's just, one technical thing that's off, and then I teach it to them, it connects, and they're like, oh my goodness, like that feels, much easier. Oh my gosh, that makes more sense, in a technical way. People would consider me strong, but I consider myself more of a technical thrower. Like I rely more on like my footwork and my speed, to get the distances that I get. So yeah, I post a lot of that just to help from beginners all the way to people who have been throwing for a while and just want to, tighten things up.
That's phenomenal. So you can have basically free instruction by following Jarvina.
Yep.
She's going to help you out and get in shape. And now's the time to start because it's going to come fast. It's going to take a while. So we should all get on with her. Even though I'm not doing heavy athletics, I love watching it. It's inspirational. It inspires me to work out in the ways that I can. So thank you so much for that. And then Liza, I want to come back to you and just talk about some of your programs with the LA Curling that you have for youth and for people of handicap. What can you tell us about some of those programs that you offer?
Yeah, so curling, as you said earlier, we call it an 8 to 80 sport. Literally anybody can curl. I like to brag that I'm pretty sure I have taught all walks of life, full gamut, and like you say, wheelchair curling and adaptive curling is a big part of the sport. It is a Paralympic sport. We have had numerous clinics that we've put on in partnership with Triumph Foundation, which is a really fantastic local organization here in LA that works with people who are newly disabled or paralyzed and finding themselves in a wheelchair, and being able to get them out on the ice and competing along with other, putting them out on the ice as if they're, the same caliber of athlete as anybody else. To be able to do that, there's not a lot of sports that you can put a wheelchair athlete on the ice alongside another one and play the same game with no changes to the rules, with no anything like that. So that's pretty significant. We're really looking forward to expanding our accessibility that way. And then youth programming is something that we have never been able to fully implement here in Los Angeles because, again, we just didn't have enough ice time. We were often curling Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m., which is not a great time to develop a juniors program when you're talking about, middle school aged kids. That's just not ideal. So definitely junior programming is going to be a big thing. And, I often get asked, how do you become competitive in the sport of curling? And the truth of the matter is it's not something that you just pick up and get good at and start becoming super competitive and expect to go to the Olympics in 4 years. It's something that you need to invest a lot of time and energy in. It is a game of finesse. And so most of the curlers that you see nowadays that are competing at an Olympic or a world level, many of them have been curling since they were young kids, since they were 8, 9 years old. And so certainly it is our hope, now that we have a home for it within California, it is certainly our hope that in the future you're going to see curlers at nationals, at worlds, at the Olympic level at some point that can claim to come from California. So fingers crossed. There's a great question in the chat about how can I start curling? And here's what I can tell you. If you check us out online, if you go to curling.la and join our newsletter, you'll be the first to know as soon as we're able to open our doors. And as soon as we open our doors, we offer what are called Learn to Curls. They're 2-hour classes. Anybody can do them. We recommend 8 and up, and I'll tell you why, because these stones, and I've got one kind of behind me here, that's an old-fashioned one. The stones themselves weigh 42 pounds. So the little kids are outweighed by those stones. So that's why we often say it's an 8 and up sport. But anybody is welcome to come and give it a try. A 2-hour lesson, we provide all the equipment, we provide all the instruction. You play a little mini game by the end of the night. And if you're hooked, then we have all sorts of introductory lessons and leagues that are meant for new curlers coming in that need to and want to learn more about the sport. And then from there, you join into whatever level you have fallen in love with the sport. If you're like me, you curl every moment that you possibly can.
Well, and then to that end, to come and do that 2-hour introductory course and then actually play a game, that sounds to me like the perfect place to take a group of people. I mean, I would think, that is a fantastic birthday present. It's a fantastic activity just for any youth or any adult who's celebrating a special moment, or just any group in general looking for a social activity. It seems like that would be the perfect choice, and you're doing something healthy and fun.
Do you want to join our marketing team? I'm sure Matt could use your help. You're hitting all of our marketing bullet points. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's a really great sport for you know, a really fun team building exercise. We do a ton of corporate events. We get tons of birthday party requests, bachelor party requests, things like that. So yeah, if you think bringing, you know, if you've ever gone bowling, if you've ever called up your friends and said, let's go bowling and drink some beer and have some fun on a Friday night, curling will be right up your alley.
That's exciting. I think we're going to sign up, right, Jarvina? Like I said, I want to do both. I want to work out with Jarvina and I want to come and do curling with you, Liza. It's going to be fantastic. Jarvina, I also am going to ask you to tell yet another story because this is a different audience here. But I love also the story about when you decided to go to Scotland to compete and what you did and what happened to you while you were there. And the sort of attention that you got while you were there?
Well, the first year that I went, it was in 2018, and it was a team composed of adaptive athletes and 3 traditional athletes that went along. And it was the first time ever in Scotland that adaptive athletes were able to throw at a festival. Our main focus was the May Games, which is in Jarvina Routt up in the wee top of Scotland in Wick. But as you know, it got around that there was a US team and people were excited. So we got invited to just come and see. We went to Killen and we were able to do a demo, and it was really amazing there because a lot of people haven't seen women athletes throw at the level that I throw. So I'm not one to just be like, yeah, you know, I'm coming in and I'm gonna. So I just, you know, just waited my turn and got in it and, you know, do what I do. And it was funny because it was like the crowd was like, okay, you know, clapping, you know, and then watching. And then it's like I threw, and then it was like dead silence, and then like an eruption of cheer. Like, oh my gosh, like women do throw. And so that was just like so cool. But at the May Games, where it was, like I said, adaptive athletes and traditional athletes, and there was a huge team from the UK, Hope for Heroes, and it was just an amazing day. And you know, as it was opening ceremony around noon, Prince Charles drove himself in through the festival. So he made his way around the track, and you know, he went to where his area was. And you know, there's so many people on the field, there's a lot going on. And so when it was time for us to meet him, you know, he shook hands with everyone, and then he got to me and he like paused. And before I can even do like a curtsy or, you know, how I'm supposed to greet him, he just like, he seemed like he was a fan, which was like crazy in my mind. He was really impressed with my technique. And he said, I was watching you and your technique and everything that you do. You must really practice this. And I was just like, wow, thank you for noticing out of all of these athletes on this field. It was just, it was a very amazing experience, I would say. And you know,
I love that you attracted a member of the royal family who's become a fan of yours, next in line to the throne of England and Great Britain. So that's fantastic. Very well done, you. And I just want to, before we wrap this up here in a couple of minutes, I want to make sure and let everybody know that we have next up, you must stay tuned. Next up, we have a Want to Be a Better Human segment with our own board members, ScotWeek Vice President Kelsey Deanne, board member Jeff Garner, who owns Prophetic Fashion Design, and actor Harry Hamlin and Charlie Stewart Gay. So you don't want to miss that. That's going to be a very interesting discussion that they're going to have. And then later on, we have Visit Scotland, a journey through Scotland in books and film. And then, of course, at 3:30 p.m., our own board member, Graham McTavish, all about men in kilts and Outlander. You don't want to miss that interview. That's going to be great fun. And then later tonight, we have Chef Gary McLean, Iron Chef, the national chef of Scotland, who's actually going to cook for us live what he normally would have made for us in a gala dinner. So there'll be a live presentation. You won't want to miss that, the whiskey tasting. And then finally, at the end of the evening, Shakespeare's Globe has gifted us the 2013 production of Macbeth. So you want to stay tuned for the rest of the afternoon and evening. But I just want to make sure and thank the two of you. Jarvina Routt, it's always a great pleasure. You're so inspirational. Everyone needs to watch you and what you're doing and follow you. Be inspired, go to Instagram, work out if you haven't been already, and follow this amazingly talented, beautiful woman. And also Liza, Beres, and Southern California Curling. We're going to be a big part of your program moving forward. Hopefully we'll be able to sponsor some of your programs that you have. Thank you both so very much for being on with us today and being part of ScotWeek.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure, and congratulations on what has been just a really excellent pivot to an online event. And I can't wait until next year when hopefully we can do this in person.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you both. Lovely to see you here.
Thank you, Cindy. Just real quick, somebody asked me a question. I just want to answer it. Diana McFarland, I just want to say that the ages is beyond. It doesn't matter how old you are. We have master classes out in the Highland Games. I've seen people in their 70s still, flipping cabers that are larger than life. So any age, any ability, you can come out and throw.
We're going to try it. That's all I needed to hear, because I think I'm getting old and, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to come work out with you. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. Lovely to see you. This was wonderful. Thank you so much for being part of ScotWeek 2021.